In light of recent events, let's have an honest conversation about racism in the Western world, something that I think the mainstream media and modern academia has failed to provide. Let's begin by pointing out something that should be obvious, but is difficult for liberal media and academics to swallow. The most racist and bigoted people on Earth are not whites. In fact, the most racist and bigoted people on Earth are in the Middle East and Southeast Asia. There was a metadata analysis of worldwide surveys asking people simple questions like, would you be okay living next to someone of a different race and culture? According to the surveys, the most racist and bigoted countries on Earth isn't America or England or Germany, it was India. More so, not a single Western European country made the top 25 list of most racist and bigoted countries. The only white majority country that made the list was Russia. They were 20. The top 10 most racist and bigoted countries in descending order are the following: India, Lebanon, Bahrain, Libya, Egypt, Philippines, Kuwait, Palestine, South Africa, and South Korea. The link to the survey is in the description below. Let me make this point crystal clear. I want the left to understand that when they make the argument that white people are somehow more racist than other people, they're wrong. White people are the most tolerant and accepting. This picture provided by the Washington Post gives us a great visual representation of how tolerant and accepting the Western world is compared to the rest of the planet. As you can see, the bluer a country is, the more tolerant and accepting they are of living next to people of different races and cultures. The more red they are, the less tolerant and less accepting they are. Clearly, as you can see, India, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Indonesia, Iran, and Nigeria are the least tolerant and accepting of living next to different races and cultures, while the Western world and South America are the most tolerant and accepting. Look at the English-speaking world: USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and so on. Look at the Nordic countries. Look at the Iberian Peninsula. They are the least racist and bigoted people, yet if you turn on the television, if you crack open a college sociology textbook, they'll tell you the exact opposite. They'll brainwash you into thinking that whites are racist, to demonize and race bait when the facts point the other way. It is colored people who are the least tolerant and accepting. If we had reliable data on African racism and bigotry, for example, the whole continent would burn a dark red, like India. Blacks are not nearly as tolerant and accepting as whites are as a whole, and we don't need data on African countries to know this. We can use data on African Americans to give us at least an idea. In 1990, Congress passed the Hate Crime Statistics Act, which required the Attorney General to collect data about crimes which manifest evidence of prejudice based on race, religion, sexual orientation, or ethnicity. Ever since that act, the FBI and criminal justice departments have had reliable records on the number of hate crimes committed in America and who the offenders are. In 2013, whites made up 54% of offenders of hate crimes, despite being 64% of the U.S. population. That means whites disproportionately do not commit hate crimes on average. Blacks, on the other hand, made up 24.3% of all hate crime offenders, despite being 12% of the U.S. population. That means blacks, on average, disproportionately commit hate crimes. Think about it. We're told by the liberal media and academia that whites are racist. Only whites can commit hate crimes. But when you step back and look at the data, it's clear that only one group of people have a tendency to commit hate crimes. Only one group of people are disproportionately, factually more racist and bigoted in America, and that group of people are fellow blacks, my fellow blacks. Look, I'm not doing this to defend white people. I honestly couldn't care less about race. My personal interests revolve around anime and economics. I'm doing this to defend objective reality. I'm looking at the stats, crunching the numbers, and forming an opinion based on the evidence. And the evidence is clear. Whites and white countries are the least racist and the least bigoted. Whites commit less hate crimes on average. Whites are far more tolerant and accepting than any other race on the planet besides maybe Latin Americans. Therefore, the liberal media and academia should honestly report the facts instead of lying to the world by saying whites are somehow more racist than others. They're not. They're in fact less racist. I'm going to end off this video by saying this. What breeds genuine hatred for people is misconception, a misunderstanding of reality. If you're black and all the information you get is from the mainstream media and academia, you're most likely going to start hating white people. Don't be part of the problem. Arm yourself with knowledge, empirical truth, and expose the truth to people who want to push their agenda of needless hatred and bigotry against whites. I'm Jay Feza from the Rebel.media. If you use logic and empirical data to formulate your opinions, like and subscribe to the Rebel.media. We do too.